Welcome back to another Pokemon Throwback Thursday, where every Thursday morning we take a deep dive into a vintage set. We go in complete order, so the set we're checking out today is Black and White Dark Explorers, and then of course we're going to be checking some more cards and boxes from sets that are Sun and Moon and older that are going absolutely crazy. And we're also going to be checking out a couple cards that I feel like are pretty undervalued right now that might be some pretty solid pickups. And then we do have to give a big thanks to our video sponsor real quick, and that is ARIZONATCG. If you guys have a couple graded cards, or if you guys have some raw cards looking to get graded and then possibly sell, ARIZONATCG has got you covered. They are now an official PSA dealer, so they can get your cards graded for you. You can track the entire process, but you can still send them all your graded cards and they'll post it to their massive weekly eBay auctions. You can change it to buy it now. You can change the prices. You have full control. And the best part about all this is they charge almost the exact same amount as if you started your own eBay store. But this eBay store already has 100% positive feedback with over 10,000 cards sold. So definitely check them out. All the links are in the description. All right, let's get started. So we got the Black and White Dark Explorers set. Came out May 9th, 2012 with 108 cards plus 3 secret rares. We got some pretty solid holos. You know, we got Venusaur, Flareon. We got a couple nice EXs too. Kyogre, Raikou, Groudon. We got an Umbreon holo that's actually worth a ton in a PSA 10. So these are the big chase cards for the sets. We have some very, very nice full arts. Honestly, some of the best full arts we've ever gotten. We got Entei, Kyogre, Raikou, Groudon, Darkrai, Tornadus. And then they got a couple shinies. Got a beautiful Gardevoir. And then we got an Archeops. And then we got a secret rare Pokemon catcher. And if we're checking on Poke data, it says the Kyogre Raw is the most expensive at $500. Darkrai $419. Gardevoir $385. Groudon $291. Entei $163. The Pokemon catcher $125. Raikou $120. The Archeops shiny is $85. The Umbreon reverse holo is $47. And the other Umbreon reverse holo is $33. And even the basic EXs are worth a decent amount. Groudon's worth $46. Kyogre's $28. Entei $23 and Raikou $20. And then we got the full art Tornadus at $41. And honestly, it was pretty tough to find PSA 10 sales for a lot of these cards. Like, they are just non-existent. They're so tough to grade. But we're going to be checking out the shinies. We got the Archeops in a PSA 8 for $120, $46 for raw. Then we got one at $70, best offer accepted, says near mint. $70. We got the Gardevoir $400. Another Archeops at $85, $60, PSA 9 at $120. Gardevoir at $460, 14 bids, says very good condition. Another one at $420. I mean, you can just kind of tell on this card how beautiful it is. That blue just pops. We got a PSA 9 Gardevoir at $565 with 23 bids. Next, we are checking out some of the most expensive raw sales of the other cards. We got the Groudon at $500, Darkrai at $400, Kyogre at $400, Darkrai $330, best ever accepted, Groudon $320 on auction, Entei $255, Kyogre $249, Darkrai $205. You know, of course, it's all going to depend on condition, but these raw cards can get very expensive. And then we're going to jump to the Kyogre. We got a PSA 9 at $1,000, could not find a 10, but we do have a couple 10 sales here. We got a Darkrai EX and a PSA 10 sold for $5,500 in a 10. Then we got the Groudon EX at $5,499. And then the Darkrai before that sold for $2,999. But even the Umbreon, population of 5, sold for $2,999. Tornadus in a 10 at $2K. Do we have anything else? Even the Groudon EX, just the basic EX, sold for $520. And we got a Glaceon reverse holo at $455 in a 10. But yeah, this is what I'm always talking about, how it really helps to know some of these older cards. That's why it is important to watch these videos where we cover some of these older sets so you guys can actually learn something instead of just, you know, listening to people who talk about Scarlet and Violet and Sword and Shield every single day, talking about stuff that you guys already know, when we could be learning about awesome cards that are worth a ton that people don't even think about. You know, 99% of the people in the hobby would go right past this card in a bulk pile. When it's worth $500 in a PSA 10, you have no idea how many awesome bulk finds I have gotten just from knowing that some of these holos and reverse holos and, you know, just basic cards are worth a good amount of money. But all right, next we got the Venusaur down here at $360, a couple Vaporeons. We got a Raikou, it's Japanese. So yeah, there's a good amount of value for sure in some of these holos. Next, we're checking out the booster packs. Last sold 170, 175, 160, 146, 160. Got a couple 2-pack blisters with some promos at $455. We got another one down here that's a little different since it's 3 booster packs. That one sold for $658. Got a couple sales for that. And then for the booster box, we do have a sale at $7,500. We got another one at $7K before that. So Not too bad of a set, to be honest. I know it's still missing a good amount, but it's definitely better than some of the other earlier black and white sets. Next, we are checking out some Shining Legends cards, and I feel like some of these cards are somewhat undervalued. Not really the Shining Rayquaza, that one's already gone up a good amount, but PSA 10 of this card was $133 in January of 2025. Now last sold $315, $300, $400, and the pop is $2,498 in the 10, $4,064 in the 9, and $1,268 in the 8. I have actually tried to grade these cards a few times, and I did not have the best luck. I got a couple 10s, but I definitely had a lot of 9s. Next, we have the Shining Mew. This is probably the best looking one, to be honest. Same thing, it was like $190 in January. Now last sold in a 10 is $409. We got $350 before that. And for a 9, it was $99. This has a pop of $2,942 in a 10 and $4,805 in a 9. And a similar amount of 8s is the Rayquaza, $1,273 in an 8. Next, we have the Shining Arceus. This has a pop of $1,644 in a 10 and $2,723 in a 9 and $795 in an 8. This card was $85 in February 2025. Kind of leveled out around $150. Now last sold $203, $250, $245, $249. Next, we have the Shining Lugia. Now this is a promo. The pop is only $808 in a 10 with $2,882 in a 9. And then there's 1,673 8s. So definitely much tougher to grade than the other Shining Legend cards in the set. I bought one of these for like $275, October of 2024. And now last sold $705. And do we have any more 10s? We got a bunch of 9s, like 91, 100, 99, and another 10 at 600 before that. But super cool card. We do also have the Shining Ho-Oh, which I actually like a lot more. This one's a little easier to grade. There's 2,361 in the 10 and 3,884 in a 9 and 1,278 in an 8. But I love this card. I think it's super cool. You guys know I love Ho-Oh. I also love Lugia, but I just kind of like this card more than the Lugia card. Last sold in a 10 is $232. I just got one of these for about $205. Yeah, I'm just a super big fan of this card. I love how there's like kind of texture on the actual Pokemon, and nobody else is really opening this set anymore. So next we have the Shining Jirachi, another one that I think is super, super cool. PSA pop in a 10 is $1,850, in a 9, $2,858, and in an 8, $642. This card is still very affordable. $98 in a PSA 10 last sold. $96 before that. $73 before that. I think I want to say I have 3 of these, but at $90, I'd buy a couple more, to be honest. Next, we have the Shining Genesect, another one that is very cheap. We got a PSA 10 pop of $1,416, and in a 9, $2,090, and in an 8, $453. Last sold in a 10, $62, $61, and $89. Now, a lot of people, when they see these prices, are just like, whatever. But this is when you need to buy cards. This is when nobody's talking about these cards and they're dirt cheap. But yeah, these are my favorite things to buy, hands down. Because then also, it's not that risky because you're not spending that much money on some of these graded cards. All right, next we have the Shining Volcanion. I actually really like his shiny, but a lot of people do not like this Pokemon. Last sold $66 in a PSA 10, $80 before that. This has a pop of $1,425 in a 10, $2,074 in a 9, and $457 in an 8. Next, we have the Shining Legends ETB. Last sold on Pokedata, which is 4 days behind, $574. We got one at $650, $550, $625, $650, $700. It all depends on, how clean that ETB is. That's why it is important, if you are picking up sealed products, make sure you get the cleanest ones possible. It really does make a difference at the end. All right, next we are checking out some of the Moltres and Zapdos and Articuno cards, but not the stained glass promo. We've checked that one a few times now. So here's the non-textured one. Really like the art on this one, and this is done by Arita. This has a pop of 7,059 in a 10, 2,245 in a 9, and 350 in an 8. And on Pokedata, and last sold is $270 in a 10. We got a 9 at $41 and another 10 at $201, and it was $182 before that. These cards are actually very, very easy to pull. Next, we have the full art, which is actually cheaper than the non-textured card, which is kind of crazy, but the art is better on the other one for sure. The pop on this is 6,087 in a 10, 4,043 in a 9, and 756 in an 8. And last sold in a 10, where'd it go? $139, and before that it was another one at $139. Honestly, not terrible. Next, we have the Rainbow Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno tag team card. Again, a very easy one to pull. If you watch anybody do openings, they are pulling this card constantly. This has a pop of 11,787 in a 10 and 4,577 in a 9. I do think this is still one of the best rainbow cards ever created. It's just that it's so common and easy to pull that it's not like actually rare. It's still a super cool card. Last sold in a 10 is $125. Before that, $120. And we got a 9 at $35 and $41. Next, we have the Charizard GX still doing work. So this thing has a pop of 8,170 in a 10 and 6,395 in a 9, 1,249 in an 8. And we're going to check that all time. So this card went crazy in 2020, got all the way up to $1,721 in a PSA 10. And then the low is probably $575. Now last sold $1,400, $1,172, $1,200. So getting back up to that all-time high at about $1,700, getting close, which is kind of crazy to think about because it's not an SIR or an alternate art. You know, it's just a full art shiny and it's of Charizard. And to end it off, we got the Hidden Fates ETB. Last sold $390, $410, $368, $460. Pretty much all the sales are right around $400 right now, which is so good to see. We've been waiting so long for this ETB to pop off. Yeah, this box just always goes up and down, up and down. And I do think it is going to level out very, very soon. Maybe even take a little bit of a dip. It's going to, recorrect a little bit because it just went up so fast. A lot of these boxes and cards too, when they go up like that, they always kind of come back down a little bit. Never back to really where they were. This ETB will never probably be a $150 ETB again. But all right, that was today's Pokemon Throwback Thursday. If you guys do like this content, please make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a like and comment. And then if you guys want to support more, you can check out my Instagram, my TikTok, or my YouTube membership. It's only 99 cents a month. But all right, I want you guys to have a great day. And if you want to watch my last Pokemon What If Wednesday, where I actually gave a little sneak peek of my office here and my living room, click this video here. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.